The 10 most famous paintings in world history. Number 10, the 3rd of May, 1808, Francisco de Goya, painted in 1814. Francisco de Goya's, the 3rd of May. 1808 is one of the first graphic representations of human violence and suffering in the context of war. This monumental work depicts a historical event, the mass execution of Spanish citizens by Napoleonic troops after the uprising of May 2, 1808 in Madrid. Goya not only captures the horrors of war, but does so in an innovative way, without heroic idealizations, focusing on the raw brutality of the moment. The central figure of the composition is an unarmed man, with his arms outstretched in a gesture that has been compared to the crucifixion of Christ, symbolizing sacrifice and innocence. Goya uses light to emphasize the drama of the scene. The lantern illuminating the prisoner and other fallen individuals contrasts with the shadowy figures of the soldiers who become mere killing machines devoid of humanity. This use of chiaroscuro reinforces the grim nature of the scene and adds an almost theatrical dimension to the unfolding tragedy. Goya's realism is evident in the striking details. The blood on the ground, the piled bodies, and the terrified expression on the face of the man facing death. Instead of glorifying war, Goya condemns it by portraying the darkest and most devastating aspects of human conflict. The soldiers lined up and anonymous symbolize the dehumanization that occurs in times of war. While the civilians are presented as defenseless victims caught in the midst of violence, the work is an explicit denunciation of war and repression, and Goya does not hide his moral outrage over the crimes. Number 9. The Great Wave of Kanagawa. The Great Wave of Kanagawa, Katsushika Hokusai. The Great Wave of Kanagawa, created around 1830 by Katsushika Hokusai, is one of the most recognizable works of Japanese art, and a prime example of the Yuko-e style that depicts a gigantic wave threatening to capsize small boats, while Mount Fuji looms in the background. At first glance, the wave seems to be the main subject of the work, but Mount Fuji, an important symbol in Japanese culture, serves as a reminder of permanence and stability amid the changing and chaotic forces of nature. Hokusai uses an asymmetrical composition to create a sense of dynamism and movement. The curve of the wave directs the viewer's eye toward the center of the scene, where the small boats seem insignificant in the face of nature's power. The crisp lines and stylized forms that define the wave and clouds are characteristic of ukiyo-e art, but Hokusai also incorporates Western influences in his use of perspective, and shading the symbolism behind the work has been widely debated. Some see in the Great Wave a representation of human fragility in the face of nature's immensity, while others interpret the wave as a symbol of resilience and humanity's ability to face adversity. The work is a synthesis of Japanese aesthetic values and a reflection on humanity's relationship with the natural world. Number 8. Liberty, Leading the People. Eugene Delacroix, painted in 1830. Eugene Delacroix, Liberty, Leading the People is an epic representation of the July Revolution in France, which led to the overthrow of King Charles. At the central figure of the painting is Marianne, the personification of the French Republic and a symbol of liberty. Marianne is depicted as a powerful and determined woman holding the French tricolor flag in one hand and a bayonet rifle in the other. Barefoot and with an exposed chest, her image evokes both motherhood and the fierce spirit of revolution. The painting represents the popular struggle, as Delacroix includes people from different social classes. In the composition, on the left, a working-class man with a sword moves toward the viewer, while on the right, a young bourgeois with a top hat holds a weapon symbolizing the unity of the people in the fight for freedom. The child with pistols, inspired by revolutionary youth, is another iconic figure that adds a sense of bravery and sacrifice to the painting. Delacroix uses a dynamic composition and vibrant colors to convey the energy and urgency of the uprising. The diagonal lines formed by the bodies in motion direct the viewer's gaze toward Marianne, who emerges as a beacon of hope and determination amidst the chaos. The use of reddish and golden tones contrasted with the gray and black of the corpses and rubble reinforces the idea that liberty rises from death. And number 7. Dance at Loulin to Lalette Experience. Dance at Loulin to Lalette. Pierre-Auguste Renoir, Bal du Moulin. De Lalette, painted in 1876 by Pierre-Auguste Renoir, is an impressionist masterpiece that captures a scene of Parisian social life at the Moulin de la Galette, a famous outdoor gathering spot in Montmartre. Renoir depicts the youth of Paris enjoying a Sunday afternoon dancing and chatting under the soft light filtering through the trees. The work is a testament to Renoir's ability to capture atmosphere and the feeling of movement through the use of loose brushstrokes and a luminous palette. The shadows and lights playing over the moving figures, painted with quick, loose strokes, create a sense of immediacy and spontaneity, which is a key characteristic of Impressionism. Renoir is not concerned concerned with precise representation of details, but with evoking the festive spirit and social interaction that characterize modern urban life. Unlike other Impressionist painters, Renoir shows a special interest in the representation of people and sociability. The characters in the painting are immersed in conversations and dances, and their faces express joy and participation in social life. Renoir also pays attention to the fashion of the time, capturing the dresses and suits of the dancers, with details that add authenticity and historical context to the work. The painting's composition is subtly structured, with figures distributed in a seemingly casual but carefully organized way to guide the viewer's eye through the scene. This subtle structure creates a sense of dynamism, without disorder, reflecting Renoir's ability to fuse movement and stability in a single. Number 6. The Virgin of the Rocks. Leonardo da Vinci. The Virgin of the Rocks is a fascinating work by Leonardo da Vinci, created in two versions, one between 1483 and 1486, and the other between 1495 and 1508. Although similar in composition, both versions present differences in details and interpretation of elements. The paintings are housed in two of the world's most important museums, one at the Louvre Museum in Paris and the other at the National Gallery in London. The painting depicts the Virgin Mary with the infant Jesus, the young John the Baptist, and an angel, all situated in a rocky landscape that evokes a mystical atmosphere. The use of rocks as a backdrop is not merely decorative, but carries deep religious symbolism. The rocks may represent the virgin isolation and purity, while some scholars suggest they also symbolize the protection of the church in a hostile environment. One of Leonardo's most notable contributions in this work is his use of spum, a technique he perfected that involves smooth transitions between colors and tones, creating atmospheric effects and giving the figures an almost ethereal quality. The result is that the figures appear to emerge from the shadows, lending them an unusual realism and softness for the time in both versions. The delicate facial expressions and the interaction of light and shadow demonstrate Leonardo's mastery in representing human anatomy and creating spatial depth, along with Suado Chiaro plays a fundamental role in creating an almost supernatural atmosphere. The light illuminating the character seems to come from an undefined external source, adding a spiritual quality to the scene. The triangular composition of the figures is another key feature of the work, providing stability and a sense of divine. Number 5. Los Meninas, Diego Velázquez, painted in 1656. Diego Velázquez's El Meninas is one of the most complex and intriguing works in art history, famous not only for its technical perfection, but also for its innovative use of perspective and deep analysis of reality and representation. The painting depicts Infanta Margarita Teresa, surrounded by her ladies in waiting, a dwarf and a dog, while Velázquez includes himself in the scene painting on a canvas in the background. A mirror reflects the figures of King Philip IV and his wife Queen Mariana of Austria, sparking numerous theories about the true nature of the scene. Some critics interpret this as a reflection on the relationship between art and reality, suggesting that the mirror and the viewer are integral parts of the painting itself. Velázquez masterfully plays with light and shadow to direct the viewer's attention to various characters, creating a sense of three-dimensional space that was revolutionary for its time. The complexity of the spatial arrangement, with characters seemingly interacting with each other, and the viewer has made El Manas a painting that continues to generate deep analysis and study the work challenges traditional notions of portraiture, becoming a meditation on artistic representation and the role of the artist in society. Velázquez also portrays himself in the scene, which has led to interpretations about the painter's role as both creator and observer. His direct gaze toward the viewer creates a duality. He is both part of the scene and an observer of it, suggesting a reflection on the nature of art as a medium for reprise. Presenting both the visible and the invisible, Los Meninas is not just a portrait of the Spanish court, but an exploration of perception, reality, and the power of art to transcend conventions. It has deeply influenced generations of artists, including Pablo Picasso and Francis Bacon, who created their own versions based on this enigmatic and multifaceted painting. Number 4. The Starry Night Crisis. The Starry K.N. Vincent van Gogh, painted in 1889, while Van Gogh was confined to the asylum in Saint-Rémy-de-Provence. The Starry Night is one of the artist's most deeply emotional works. The painting is not merely a depiction of the night sky, but a deeply personal and interpretive vision of the universe. The swirling and spiraling brush strokes of the sky seem to reflect Van Gogh's ultu mental state as he suffered from nervous breakdowns and depression. The contrast between the bright stars and the calm village below creates a dichotomy between the natural and human worlds, underscoring the connection, but also the distance between the vastness of the cosmos and the smallness of daily life. The dark cypress tree rising in the center of the composition acts as a visual connection between the earth and the sky, an element often interpreted as a symbol of death and eternity in Van Gogh's works. Although Van Gogh was not entirely satisfied with the Starry Night, and considered it inferior to his more realistic works. The painting has become one of the most influential pieces in modern art. The fluidity and energy of the sky have been the subject of scientific studies, exploring its resemblance to representations of turbulence in physics. Furthermore, the painting has been studied in the context of mental health, as it reflects the artist's internal struggle with his own psyche from a symbolic perspective. The Starry Night can be seen as a visual expression of Van Gogh's internal conflict between his desire to find solace in religion and nature and his ongoing battle with emotional suffering. Number 3. The Night Watch Space. The Night Watch. Rembrandt van Rijn, painted in 1642. The Night Watch is one of Rembrandt van Rijn's masterpieces and the essential example of Dutch Baroque art, despite its popular title suggesting a night scene. Recent research has revealed that the painting originally depicted a daytime scene. Over time, the varnish darkened, giving the impression of a nocturnal setting. The original title, The Company of Captain Frans Banning, and Lieutenant Willem van Ruyenburg, highlights the painting's nature as a group portrait, unlike traditional group portraits of the time, which often presented figures in static, linear arrangements. Rembrandt introduced a composition full of movement and action. The civic guards appear to be preparing for a march, with each figure captured in a dynamic moment. Some are walking, others are handling weapons, and some seem to be engaging in conversation. This innovative approach breaks with the conventions of group portraiture, infusing the scene with a sense of life and energy. One of the most notable aspects of the painting is the dramatic use of chiaroscuro, the contrast between light and shadow, a technique that Rembrandt perfected. He uses it here to illuminate certain characters. While others remain in shadow, this use of light not only adds depth and volume to the scene, but also directs the viewer's attention to key figures, such as Captain Banning and Lieutenant van Ruyenburg, who are dressed in black and gold respectively. The light also plays a symbolic role, emphasizing the importance and leadership of these individuals within the group. Rembrandt also uses the painting to create psychological drama between the characters. In earlier group portraits, figures often appeared with neutral expressions, but here Rembrandt explores a range of emotions, from concentration and seriousness to camaraderie and unease. This human and emotional approach is characteristic of Rembrandt's style, as he always sought to capture the psychological essence of his. Number 2. The School of Athens, Raphael. The School of Athens is one of the most representative frescoes of the Italian Renaissance, painted between 1509 and 1511 by Raphael in the Vatican's Apostolic Palace. The work celebrates classical knowledge and is an idealized representation of the greatest philosophers, mathematicians, and scientists of antiquity. At the center of the composition are Plato and Aristotle, walking and discussing, symbolizing the duality of philosophical approaches. Plato points upwards, alluding to the world of ideas, while Aristotle gestures downwards, referring to the empirical and earthly world. RAF fills the composition with iconic figures from the history of thought, such as Socrates, Pythagoras UID, and Diogenes, each represented with attributes that identify them. However, one of the most notable features of the work is how Raphael integrates his contemporaries into this classical scene. For example, the face of Leonardo da Vinci is used to represent Plato, while Michelangelo is portrayed as Heraclitus, seated in the foreground in a melancholic and reflective posture. The precision of the linear perspective is one of the greatest technical achievements of the work. The architectural lines converge at the central point, where Plato and Aristotle stand, reinforcing their importance as pillars of philosophical thought. The monumental architecture surrounding the characters with vaults and arches reflects the Renaissance ideal of harmony and proportion, inspired by classical Roman structure. Number 1. The Mona Lisa, Leonardo da Vinci, painted between 1503 and 1506. Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa has become the epitome of Renaissance art and a global cultural icon. The work is more than just a portrait. It is a profound exploration of human psychology and the nature of art itself. The model, traditionally identified as Lisa Gherardini, is presented with an almost mystical serenity, making her enigmatic expression one of the most debated aspects in art history. The Mona's smile is famous for its ambiguity. The use of spado, a technique perfected by Leonardo, allows the edges to blur, eliminating harsh contours and creating a smooth transition between light and shadow, which gives a lifelike quality to the skin and a face that appears to change depending on the light and angle from which it is viewed. In terms of composition, the Mona Lisa is seated in a fantastic landscape that, rather than serving as a mere background, adds an air of unreality and mystery. The winding paths and misty mountains suggest a connection between nature and humanity, possibly hinting at philosophical ideas of the interconnection between humans and the cosmos that prevailed during the Renaissance. The portrait also presents a psychological challenge for the viewer. The Mona Lisa's gaze seems to follow whoever looks at her, creating a sensation that the model is alive and aware of the viewer's presence. This type of direct interaction with the painting was innovative at the time, highlighting Leonardo's ability to capture the essence of humanity in a single single portrait. Additionally, the work has been the subject of various theories ranging from its psychological meaning to possible hidden codes inserted by Da Vinci, a man known for his interest in science, mathematics, and symbolism. Finally, the historical value of the Mona Lisa is undeniable after its theft in 1911 by Vincenzo Peruggia, an Italian nationalist who believed the painting should return to Italy. Its fame grew exponentially. Today, it is visited by millions at the Louvre Museum in Paris, where it receives special treatment with advanced security measures, making it one of the most protected and revered works of art in the world. Thank you for watching our video. Subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Give it a like, comment your thoughts, and share this video with your friends and family.